My name is Les Brown, and what we're talking about, not the trial, but the young lady that refused to back down. Her name, Joanne Chuagulas. And this person came under a lot of attack, a lot of scrutiny, and we're talking about taking a stand. She said that she fears, given what happened to her, people in the news calling her crazy. She said it hurt her deeply. She said, I took my duty seriously and considered the evidence and deliberated in good faith. And she said, all of the evidence, it was flimsy and weak and disorganized, and so I just wouldn't go for it. And she said she's afraid that there are people who will take the role in a jury and allow themselves to be manipulated, allow themselves to back down and not stand up for what they honestly feel. And she said, but she wouldn't do it. Have you ever been in a situation where others were silent and perhaps people told you, listen, nothing's going to be done about it. You need to stay out of this. You need to be quiet. It's going to cost you your job or a promotion. And you just had to speak. You just, because it was against your principles. That's what we're talking about, and I want you to call and be a part of the conversation. The number is 888-539-2980, and if you're tuning into the show for the first time, we talk about human interest stories. We don't talk about politics or the problems of the world, but we love to hear your story and how you resolve something in a positive way, because we believe whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. I want to thank you so much, Kathy, for calling. How are you, Kathy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, just hearing the sound of your voice, and I understand that you served on a jury.
I did, and I had a similar experience as the person that you were speaking about, in that, you know, I was the dissenting juror for a while, and it was very hard to be that person because, you know, everyone's looking at you, and they want you to just hurry up and make this decision so we can all go home. And, you know, I felt a responsibility to the person on trial because I didn't feel that I could live with myself if I sent someone innocent to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was a long 3 or 4 days, and we had to continue to go back, and the entire time, like she said, you get the stare downs and the innuendo, you know, he's guilty, let's just go home, you know, I got things to do. And it was people's private, you know, needs that took precedent over the fact that this man could actually go to prison if we find him guilty. And he may not be guilty.
Wow.
And so it takes a lot of courage to do it. But unlike the person that you were speaking about, I walked away with the feeling that I would never serve on a jury again. Because, like she said, I had sleepless nights. And because you're not allowed to talk to anybody about it, you have to kind of internalize it. And it was one of the worst experiences that I had ever had. And I must say that I was kind of actually looking forward to it because I had never done it.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, I felt like that was the biggest mistake that I had ever made because it was so much pressure on you. And then to have that conviction and to have to stand your ground, you know, I dreaded going each day.
Let me ask you this. Did you back down? You said you were the dissenting juror for a while. Did you back down and you acquiesced and you went along with what they said?
I think, I guess it could be considered that I backed down because what it really came down to was at that point it was, okay, well, we're not going to let this guy just walk with nothing. So we're going to, we're going to say that he's guilty of a lesser charge. And my thing was, well, why does he have to be guilty of anything? You know, if he is innocent, he's innocent, and we don't have to make him guilty of anything. So, well, we're not going to make him guilty of a felony. You know, we can actually make him guilty of a misdemeanor. And even with the misdemeanor, yes, he was going to go back to jail, but it would have been, considerably less time than if it was the actual felony that they were charging him with. So I guess you could say I did acquiesce in the sense I'm like, okay, fine. If it just has to be something, then fine. You can make him guilty of misdemeanor, whatever, but, I'm not going to make him guilty of a felony knowing that.
But did you feel in your heart of hearts that the guy was guilty?
I wrestled with that, and at the end of the day, I didn't know. And I didn't feel that they had presented enough solid information for me to say without a shadow of a doubt that, yes, he was guilty. There was just too many holes in the story. There was too much flimsy, evidence in the sense that, well, we can assume this because of that, and I could not find.
So, Kathy, you compromised. Even though they didn't present enough evidence to clearly say that this guy was guilty, what you said was, okay, I will not vote for him to go to jail for a felony, But if this is the compromise, he will be charged with a misdemeanor and he will go to jail for less time. But the key question, you said, look, we don't have enough evidence to convict this guy. And you saying, let's not just let him walk away. I'm saying we don't have enough evidence to convict him. Why do we have to find him guilty of anything? And their response was?
Their response was, well, we just can't let him get off.
We just can't let him get off. And so you went along with them.
I went along and I said, fine, if it has to be a misdemeanor.
How did you feel about that?
I wasn't very proud of myself in the sense that,
I want to thank you very much for first of all, being transparent and open and honest about this. It's take courage to call up and even just share with me what you've shared and just being very honest and then take the position of just lying and saying, I just stood my ground all the way. But so thank you for that. So how did you process that with yourself?
At the end of the day, I wouldn't do a jury again. Not at all.
Wow. But I'm talking about in terms of what did you say to Kathy?
I said that I did the best that I could. And at the end of the day, because I wasn't clear or I wasn't sure.
You really didn't do the best that you could, though. Because the best of what you could have done was to do what Joanne did and say, I really don't believe in my heart of hearts that you presented enough evidence to convict this guy of anything. So, therefore...
Because I felt like there was a possibility, but I could not be sure. Then I said, okay, well, you know what? If he is guilty, then, he got the misdemeanor.
But what would have happened if you had not changed your position and you just said no, period? What would have happened? That would have been a hung jury?
We would have been, well, we were hung in the beginning, and the judge said, no, go back.
Okay, so therefore you would have had another hung jury, and that person would have to have another trial?
I don't know. I don't know at the end of the day, because they just presented it to us like, no, you have not deliberated long enough to say that you're deadlocked or you're hung, so go back, and you guys need to come to an agreement. A lot of innocent people go to jail because of that. They do, and that's what motivated me to say, okay, we have to take a really good look at this, because I could not, I could not live with the fact that I, sent somebody to prison for, 10, 15, 20 years, and they were innocent.
Right.
That's just, it's the whole judicial process.
I got to get out of here. Listen, I want to thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you for being the beautiful person that you are. And I know you are a courageous person. In spite of that, that doesn't define you. And I know you'll be more courageous in making decisions in the future. Thank you.
Have a great day.
I appreciate you for listening. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. The number to call is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're talking about taking a stand when it's unpopular and when it takes courage to do that, like Kathy and Joanne. And when did you do that, or when you had a position to do it and you didn't? Let's be honest and be open about that. 888-539-2980. My name is Les Brown. You're listening to